Some of you that saw my Blueballs Incident videos might remember me saying this. This is something that, in the end, inspired others, inspired me, and hopefully inspires you somehow. Since that time, I've seen a lot of fan creations, and I thought it'd be interesting to go through some of them. Not just to see what the Blueballs Incident has inspired from other creators and artists, but also kind of to show how even something a lot of us don't know about can be home to a community of creators and ideas that's worth looking into. More specifically, I was interested in taking a look at 2 fan mods, but as I've come across other things these past months, there's a bit more I want to touch on as well. I've already brought up some remixes in my previous videos, but I think it's worth revisiting them real quick. Let's just give a shout out again to fan mashups like God vs. God with Legion singing against Shaggy. There's also Atychiphobia with Sticky BM singing it, which has some surprises in it worth checking out. This is just scratching the surface though with what these people have been able to do, not just in terms of remixing Blueballs Incident stuff, but also with other things they've done. For instance, I'll bring up Sairi Taikutsu and Fahad Lami again, both of whom are still active on their channels, and not just in terms of music. I love listening to this Sonic remix here, and holy crap was I hooked on No More Escapisms for a few weeks. Now, to talk about a little bit of artwork, this one I found on Reddit months ago, but unfortunately I've been unable to find it again so I can actually show it to you. So I'm going to have to describe it from memory, and if anybody knows what I'm talking about, please let me know. Comments or direct message on Twitter, things like that. And I'll make sure to be able to add a link and pin a comment saying that you were the one that was able to find it. It's a fan comic that flips things around in the cutscene before Atychiphobia, where Legion is giving the "this is all your fault" speech to girlfriend and showing a transformed boyfriend as the consequences of her actions. Legion gives a rather harsh speech to girlfriend about how she never seemed to stop or even encouraged boyfriend's attempts to constantly impress her by getting into dangerous situations like this one. It not just sticks to the characterization we have of Legion, but also to boyfriend and girlfriend, in this case girlfriend specifically, and gives us actual questions about how the relationship was working out between those two that led to such things to occur. But considering how the Blueballs Incident ended as well, it's entirely possible this is something that girlfriend discussed with boyfriend as well, to lead to why boyfriend chose to retire from the Foundation in that story, aside from all the hell they went through. I really enjoy the story it offered to us, and I'm really hoping to be able to find it again somehow. And in case you're wondering, this is not the comic that Malicious Bunny linked to on her Twitter. It's similar, but it was more about Legion breaking boyfriend's mind. Which I guess goes to show that even though Legion's methods are easy to explain, there's still a wide range of possibilities in how he's able to use them. Now, later in the video I'll be sharing and talking about a few other things, but for now, be prepared for the fact that Malicious Bunny's fans have given us quite the rabbit hole to dig into. So, let's look at some of the bigger projects that are out there. To lead off, I'll say this one was cancelled, but the latest demo release available to us has plenty to play and see. There were a lot of ideas and characters planned for this one, as shown by the amount of music made for it, and a few things I read in various places. And while the music definitely feels like a fit for the Trollge Files, it's still unique unto itself. I don't think we're ever going to know what the full story was supposed to be for this mod, but there were definitely some interesting concepts in what I was able to find. Most plot elements I bring up are coming from a website that was linked as a source on the Funkopedia Mods wiki site, which appears to go to an unfinished homepage for Disorder. I doubt it'll be updated further, but maybe the wiki site will, so I'll include a link for that. Unused cutscenes for this mod would have explained that after the events of the Trollge Files, Boyfriend's right arm would have had an infection spreading on it that would have eventually covered his entire body. It's at this point that a new Trollge named Telly appears, makes himself a sandwich out of the fridge, and says he can help Boyfriend heal his arm if he helps him first. Already a strong start in terms of the music and character designs, and also a good time to bring up that the Trollge's and Boyfriend's voices in this mod have been either altered to fit the music better or changed completely. Unexplained in the demo is that Telly's power is traveling through TVs, and he can apparently help others do the same as well. Telly was meant to be a central figure in the mod as well, with the most songs planned for him and being a recurring presence in the story. If that sounds vague, it's because that's about all I know. I remember seeing at least one person hoping this meme was in the original Blueballs Incident, and the team using that idea for an interestingly somber song and creepy atmosphere turned out well here. It's creepy yet emotional, and the Forever Alone meme comes off as pitiable without even knowing what the story or setup is for it. He's actually hiding from everyone because those that see him are apparently overcome with some sort of curse he can't control that forces them to off themselves. The plan was apparently to be able to end the song with an option to become friends with him, which, if you know the original mod, isn't out of place for Boyfriend. The trick of the charts overlapping each other is a simple but interesting mechanic as well. One of my favorite songs in this mod, and I enjoy the little surprise the Trollge gives us about halfway through. The trap notes will flashbang your screen if you hit them, but depending on when it happens, it won't mess you up too much. Peeker's story is that he pranks people in horrible ways and constantly watches them in ways that only the victim can see him, apparently recording it as well. The unused stage art was meant to have a recording studio full of cameras and televisions, and I get the feeling animations would have been reflected on the live feed screens during it. I'm not sure how much work that would have taken, but I get the feeling the presentation of it would have been pretty good. So this guy became a Trollge after he hid inside a big present box to play the part of a jack-in-a-box, as a surprise for his son's birthday party. Unfortunately, the wife deliberately set it up for him to get stabbed and killed by the handle when the son tried to use it, then said the box was a fake present before distracting him with a different present. He then got shoved in the attic for God knows how long when nobody was looking. The song is another of my favorites in the mod, and a planned chase scene would have been interesting to see with this guy. If you had to make me choose, I think this is my favorite song in the mod. Argo's gasping lyrics stand out so much compared to the growling of the other Trollges, and the beat is really complemented by Boyfriend's and Argo's lyrics. The quieter moments and ticking clock help lend a feeling of variety and unsettledness to the song, and Argo's design and fluid animations help sell the creepiness of whatever it is. He and his sister were puppet makers and entertainers living in a cabin in the woods until his sister fell ill. He tried to work at the nearby city to get enough money to save her, but came back one day to find her missing. By now, the only thing they had left was a single doll, and he began to hear voices from it. This led to Argo apparently kidnapping people of all ages and stringing up their remains as puppets to put on one last show. Oh look, he has a little mustache. It's kind of odd for me to see a Trollge in robes like this, and there was little I could dig up about him aside from that he uses his powers to create other cultists, apparently under his control. With the mod cancelled, we can only guess how he would have played out, considering there was another song for him, and a third song involving his followers. It's a fairly long song and rather downbeat compared to the others, even taking into account the trip-hop style it takes on. But again, the songs are fairly varied in style in this mod. Telly returns, and he's the final song in the demo. And I'll use this point to explain that at some time the true villain of the mod was supposed to possess and control Telly for his own plans toward the end. The song is fun to play, but definitely wasn't meant to be the final song in the mod. Most of the songs that didn't get used in the demo, including themes and cutscene music, have been released on Ahmed X RNMD's channel and their SoundCloud. God help me with internet name pronunciations. Give it a listen for more of what you didn't get a chance to hear. And also I'll point out Jay Phantom worked on plenty of the music that wasn't in the demo, but is in the soundtrack as well. Another musician worth taking a look at, links in the description as always, and both of the musicians on this mod do more than just Friday Night Funkin' related music. This mod was approached from the angle that it was effectively a fan-made third chapter for the game, and even with what we got in the demo, it does have the feeling and style that makes me think they did a good job on that front. The charting and music may not be as complicated or difficult, but music doesn't need to be complex to sound good. In terms of gameplay, there might not be much that's unique to other mods in the community, but sometimes being simpler is helpful for a game's enjoyment, and there's plenty of options available to have aspects of the game harder or easier for you. It was definitely on track to be able to compare itself to a hypothetical third Trollge Files update, but we have one last thing to talk about. The message at the end of the mod makes it clear that some things went down behind the scenes, and I have found some information about that. So let me address this real quick before it comes up in the comments or something. I see no reason to look further into anything more than what the message stated, and even then I'm not going to discuss it further. The message at the end makes it known that overall, for whatever reasons they've chosen, the team wants to be done with it, they want to be able to move on, and they don't want any further discussion. I know some people have said or done things, but even if we see those discussions of what happened or what's going on between them, it's not our place to get involved. Therefore, I'm going to respect their privacy, respect what is implied with the message, and not get involved with any conversations, discussions, or look for any more information about this matter. As far as I understand, it is not as serious as many other issues. If you discover anything about what happened, please keep it to yourself, and I'll leave it to your discretion on whether or not you want to support anybody for whatever reason in their future projects and endeavors. I'm not picking a side in this, but don't go harassing anyone over it. I may not respect whatever mistakes were made, but I'm always supportive of trying to fix them and make up for them. In short, if we're all adult enough here to watch stuff with four-letter words in it, let's act like it. Now, to get back to the focus on fan projects and creations, let's talk about another project that's actually just starting up. I can't speak much about this next project, but I have spoken to the director, and it does sound legitimately interesting. Thank you for bringing this project to my attention, G. Gerson, and thank you for your time. And God help me with internet name pronunciations. The Trollge Memories is a project that wants to take the lore and history given to us in the Blueballs Incident and Malicious Bunny's other videos and make songs and stages based off of them, mostly focusing on the Trollges before they transformed and the events that caused them. Kind of a this is how it could have happened fan retelling. For instance, if you've played the game, you have an idea of Legion's past. Well, here's an image G. Gerson shared on Twitter of what their interpretation of Legion's human form will be, presumably the night his little incident occurred. I find it an honestly interesting idea, and that's why I'm adding it in here. Unfortunately, he's still putting together a team to work on it, but if anyone out there wants to help out on this, I'll have a link for that and his Twitter in the description. Good luck on Trollge Memories. Looking forward to what you come up with. And remember, creators, it never really has to be better than anything else in order for it to be good or recognized. Just put your heart into it, and if you feel stress or something like that, it's not helping you work on it or things like that, you're burning out or whatever, nobody will hold it against you if you want to take a break and come back to it, or even just put a stop to it and move on to something else. There's always a next time or a next project. Now, with all that said, I've been looking forward to this next one, and I was planning on making a separate video just for this one, until I realized just how much fan content there was out there for the Trollge Files, and put it all in one video. Shout out to S in the comments for bringing this up not once but twice. Thanks for the heads up on...
The town was left devastated. They believed in all your lies, while deep inside, you know that you heard her final cries. You sicken me, little gardener. Now bleed out on the floor. Your friend is next, a sunny boy. I'll be right at his door.
Yes, I'm going to get the name right this time. And honestly, Omori was a brilliant idea to give a crossover to the Trollge Files. The horror and themes mesh well due to the similarities and differences that complement each other. The setup is that it takes place after both games' stories, with girlfriend convincing boyfriend to deal with a few more trolls showing up in faraway town, Omori's setting. And to reiterate what this mod says at the start, there will be spoilers for both games if you haven't played them. I think it does a decent job telling a story using the characters and music from both games, without needing to know too much about either of them. The cutscenes are good though, and the art does a good job of being recognizable for both games, while still having room for little details and being creepy when needed. So once more, let's delve into the story, songs, and characters as we go through the chapters. The prologue song, and oh hey, I haven't analyzed mods with full difficulty selections like this. That's neat. I'm recording on normal difficulty, but I did clear most of the stages on hard, and the only real difference seems to be the charts are the same, but with trap notes added to them. Anyway, this is an awesome remix of the tutorial song from Blueballs Incident, and already showing us we can expect good music. Afterward, Basil from Omori gets a visitor. Anyone that's played Omori knows a body count and horrible things happening isn't new for that game, nor Blueballs Incident for that matter. So get ready for it here, as our first introduction to a Trollge shows they're just as much a threat as ever.
Such a shame. She was so talented. All she wanted to do was to play music with you.
So boyfriend and Sunny face off against the Trollge named Radis, who is trying to mentally weaken Sunny with visions of his sins. I would explain the parallels between that and Omori, but I'll leave some spoilers and surprises alone. They sing against him, and... wait, is that the bit from Incident? Okay, that was a nice touch. Makes it seem like boyfriend is trying to finish off the trolls the same way he did the Smiler, implying this is an attack song or something like that. Also, two things. One, I'm not as familiar with music from Omori, so I won't cotton on to music snippets from there as much as from Blueballs Incident. Second, when they do use music from other games, it's usually very smoothly integrated into the rest of the music and singing going on. Speaking of the singing though, Radis makes a point about how useful rapping against him is and injures boyfriend. Which leads to Sunny reminding Radis what is useful against him. This leads to some shocked witnesses and the next chapter. From here on out in the game, a bunch of other characters get to stand in the spotlight while boyfriend recovers. And the more I played the game and thought about it, the more I appreciated it. It helps us see what kind of threat the Trollges actually are to people that aren't agents or aren't prepared for them. Especially with what appears to be an outbreak occurring.
There's something going on with Aubrey.
No need to check here.
Now, young lady.
Girlfriend heads out to find Aubrey, and finds another Trollge has gotten control of her as his new puppet. And I did notice something interesting as I played it. At times, the arrows you're hitting don't make Girlfriend sing, but Aubrey while she's still in the strings. Girlfriend knows all too well how singing can help somebody break free of the control of the Trollges. And I think when we get to play the notes Aubrey sings, that was a sign given through the gameplay that she was starting to break free. Even in failing, we get a bit more story. You might notice if you fail, Girlfriend reverts back to her Trollge form, and a message saying "we can't do this again" pops up. Finally, Aubrey breaks free and fights back. We then learn a bit of lore for the TCF's operations, specifically if and how they can detect if captured Trollges can be cured. And I know this is the mod's interpretation of it, but it doesn't really feel out of place of the official canon. So the next Trollge we come across is... holy crap, is that Nene? Someone else remembered she existed? Quick note here. Pico was in the base Friday Night Funkin game, and Nene was one of his friends in their original appearances in Newgrounds.com animations and games. With that covered, we find Kel got infected after he witnessed Radis impersonate a broken Slinky. Fortunately, after Nene defeats and captures him, we get good news when the machine shows he can still be cured. I enjoyed this song a lot, but I might as well just call this whole mod "That Song Was Great, the Game." Though it is fairly frightening to start getting a look at what the victims are actually feeling when they're transformed, and that's not stopping anytime soon.
I missed you. I have not seen you in a long time.
What are you talking about?
But now we can be together again.
All right, now!
What?
Sometime after Kel is cured, he joins up with the Foundation and heads back to find another Trollge waiting. Kel might be new and out of his element a little, but luckily he gets back up from Pico. Less of a surprise than Nene, but still welcome regardless. And I'm really enjoying these songs where there's more than just two singers. This is also a longer song, but I absolutely love it, and hands down I can't stop listening to it or playing it. Considering the story beats during it as well, if anyone needs a sample of this mod to get them interested in it, I'd say this is the song to use. Back to the story. They find out the Trollge is another infected character from Omori, this time Kel's brother Hero, and I feel like Pico changing his part of the song after this reveal shows he's trying to change this from an attack into a rescue mission. Honestly, at this point, I'm surprised Pico is the one used for a dramatic and emotional song and moment. Now, I know things are feeling kind of safe with the story at this point. Nice multiverse get-together from everybody, and despite the horror, people are getting saved. But remember, this is a crossover mod between Blueballs Incident and Omori. So far, those two tastes have been going great together like peanut butter and chocolate. What do you think is going to happen when we get a Reese's Cup of dark horror from those two? Especially with how cheery Omori itself was at the start.
I know we've had a rocky history together, and I still hate you for the things you did to me back then. But you're still young, you have your entire career ahead of you.
We start off with Daddy Dearest, of all people, giving a pep talk to Boyfriend and trying to lift his spirits by bringing him back to where it all began. Fans of Omori should at this point remember emotions had a part to play in that game, especially guilt. And I love how this song is done and presented. Trying to get Boyfriend out of his funk, haha, Daddy Dearest goads him into singing their debut songs together. At first, Boyfriend is silent, and then gives token, simple attempts, before starting to pick back up into things. However, the remix is solemn, mirroring Daddy Dearest's expression, and Boyfriend's voice is distorted and weak when he's able to use it. I think this is another of those times someone did a wonderful job telling the story with the music itself. However, in the end it wasn't enough to help Boyfriend. As thoughts of doubt keep appearing through the song, it ends with Boyfriend running off and heading into Sunny's house, where he makes a terrible discovery. Sunny is a Trollge now, and I would wager he got infected from stabbing Radis, being close enough some Trollge cells got on him or in him. But enough about Trollges, the somethings from Omori come out to play now, and they give us real trouble playing the song, almost like Boyfriend isn't used to having to deal with them. And considering things about Sunny and Omori, I wouldn't doubt Troll Sunny is somehow controlling or summoning the somethings. However, Boyfriend's voice isn't getting any better, and after he's attacked by one of the somethings, Boyfriend wakes up with Girlfriend at his side.
I'm sorry, Boyfriend, but he has to be contained.
And after hearing that Sunny was discovered to be incurable, Boyfriend starts getting eaten away by guilt over his failure. Also, I'm being deliberate with the somethings label. If anyone's gotten an interest in Omori by now, I'm keeping a description of those unsaid for major spoiler reasons. Just know a simple explanation is they're monsters tied to certain emotions and thoughts of certain characters.
Last night, I had a strange dream. It was about a lovely couple that loved each other very much. Then the boy went missing. So did the girl. And now was the end of the world.
We pick back up with Basil describing a dream he had, which seems to involve Boyfriend and Girlfriend. This is clearly a cover of one of the more recognizable Omori songs, but this time it has a special guest. During his dream, Basil has to face Legion. Thankfully, we find out he's just a vision and not the real deal, but we also find out that this was a prophetic dream of some sort. We discover there is a Trollge named Ringmaster orchestrating all of the events going on. And the next Omori character that seems to fall under his control is Mari. With all this hell the Omori characters are going through, I wouldn't doubt the somethings start to play a bigger role as we go forward, which I would welcome. And I'm sure using my time from Omori with Boyfriend singing parts of it isn't a good sign of things to come. But I hate to say this, but as of now this is not the full release of the Trollge Files X Omori mod. I know! I can't wait to see more of this and see how it ends. And I know there's places I can go to see more of what the stories plan to be and how things play out in future chapters. I've read some of them, but I'm not getting into them because it's not what's presented in the mod itself. And there are some things in this mod that were planned beforehand that wound up changing, so who knows what's out there that's going to wind up being rewritten. I am dead serious, though, when I say that the Trollge Files and Omori was a match made in heaven. Hell, headspace, whatever. I want more. But as I said, I want their hearts to be into it, and I don't want this to be rushed. So, if we want more, let's see what they got for us in the free play section. And I'll be skipping over some of these. Most of those are going to be joke songs. But the rest of them do have some interesting things to take a look at.
But what if he...
I said do it!
Okay, jeez. Calm down.
This takes an alternate universe fanfic about Omori and uses it as an excuse to make a really good remix of Phobia from the Blueballs Incident. Yes, a fanfic was used as a reason for this fan mod to remix music from a fan mod. We're about to fall off the Mobius strip into a fractal if it gets any deeper. In short, the AU fanfic has Hero becoming violently protective of Sunny. similar to JJ's brand of protection toward children. I'm also using this as evidence to point back to how Boyfriend used a part of Incident against Radis as an attack. As Girlfriend points out, they're using the same music against someone with similar motives. So it's plausible that, in this mod's canon at least, the Boyfriend sings in certain ways to defeat certain types of enemies. This is just a thing about Trollges invading Deltarune, but I'm bringing it up for how good the song is, as well as how horrifying everything going on in it is. Quite frankly, if this is a look at what this mod thinks the Trollges are capable of, there's plenty more to be worried about with them. Also, don't tease us with the idea of a Trollge Files x Deltarune crossover. And I know this song was also inspired in part by the Mandala Catalog YouTube series. Don't tempt us with a Trollge crossover of that either. I think I'm coming to the conclusion Trollges can be used as believable villains or threats in nearly any situation at this point. Like being a threat to a cartoon backpack and water bottle, what the hell am I seeing? I'm kind of bringing this one up because I like the song. No idea what I can tell you about the web series it's crossing over with though, but I'll include a link to it if you want to see it for yourself. But I think this is an interesting way to show how much something random or unexpected used in this mod can still be made into something good. Anything that isn't seems to be them just deliberately goofing around. These are songs from other mods in the community, and it's safe to say the creator of this mod put these in to get people to check them out as well. Just another moment of a creative community supporting each other. I'm here for it. The songs are great. I love Atypical more. But I suppose that credit goes to the mods the songs come from.
Hey, you should play Sunday Night Suicide Overhaul when it comes out, because they made it good. They made the mod good. Oh my goodness, it's good.
First off, great song, and it definitely plays like it came out of the Sonic.exe mods. Secondly, this made me wonder what would happen if Trollges infected X or Xenophanes, whatever, Sonic.exe villain. I think that might make one of the few legitimate horror ideas in a Sonic.exe fanfic. So all in all, I would say this mod is great on its own, but knowing stuff about Blueballs Incident and Omori helps understand what's going on in it a little more, especially in regards to Omori. It's very clear that this mod respected and understood nearly all of the source material it pulled from, and does a good job telling us a new story using that. And of course, the music is really great, and if I'm not careful, my playlists are going to get too long for their own good. The constantly changing singers also helps keep a fresh and different sound to each song. I'd wager some out there would think this mod as a whole, or at least the music, is better than the original Trollge Files. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with an inspired work surpassing what influenced it. Just look at Blueballs Incident versus the original Friday Night Funkin. Now, it's at this point in time I'm sure a lot of you have the obvious question in your mind. Do I see one of these mods as better than the other, and why? Well, the answer is no. I am not going to say one is better than the other. Everything I've covered in this video I find good or great for different reasons, and I'm glad I found out about all of them, and highly recommend checking out all of them yourselves. Otherwise, why would I bother wanting to share them with you? However, there is one more thing I want to share that is a much smaller endeavor than full-blown fan mods, but I think has just as much going for it in terms of storytelling and presentation. Atychiphobia by Mr. Kindle, a fan song presented as taking place right before what I dare call an iconic moment in the Blueballs Incident at this point. Yes, it's slower and more subdued, but so is sadness and redemption. More importantly, the idea given in it is that Legion takes one last moment to keep needling at Boyfriend's mind, even in the real world, by reminding him of what he actually fears before the reveal of Girlfriend. This suggestion that Boyfriend fears being seen as a failure might explain why he's always so gung-ho to rap battle with everyone, no matter the consequences. It expands the story we got in Blueballs Incident, and adds what I see as a logical character exploration. And it comes together feeling like a deleted scene or something from a director's cut. In fact, the music feels as if it starts out as part of a cutscene, then moves into what could have been a playable section. I highly recommend checking it out, and if you enjoyed it or are just curious, there's plenty more to hear from Mr. Kindle on their channel. But it's just one song, you might think. It's not even in a mod. Well, who says that fan creators have to be limited in the mediums that they show their work through? Malicious Bunny on her Twitter has shared plenty of fan creations, even people that are cosplaying as her characters. Here's one of Jenkins. Fahad Lami, there's that name again, has videos and tutorials of custom Soul Calibur fighters for both versions of Girlfriend, as well as tons of other characters apparently. Here's fan art by Rob77812 of one of the more heart-wrenching moments in the story. The thing that grates on me is that with these mods I've covered, and creators in general all over the internet, there's tons of musical and artistic talent that isn't getting the recognition and exposure it deserves. I was a fan years ago of a radio show called BT's Laptop Symphony on Sirius XM, and in one of the shows he summed up my feelings partly with this statement.
Many of these tracks may or may not be off vlogs. We brought up the RIAA before, but you know what? This is good for everybody. This encourages people to listen to good music that they may not hear otherwise.
The talent we get from these mods, creators, musicians on the internet is just as worthy as being on the radio as all these other top 40 people out there. Some of us remember when anime only came on at midnight on cable channels. There was a techno show that came on at midnight on a local rock station called Zoltar's Subterranean. I know I don't get the views on this channel to really expose a lot of people that I talk about, but at least a few people see it, and I help out a little bit that way. There was a comment Captain RC left on my second Blueballs Incident video that made me wonder if people could contact creators of music, movies, whatever we find on the internet, to get permission to share it with other people by getting them into local or independent music, movie, or arts festivals. We can all do our part to help the creators and artists that we like. And I always make an effort to include in the credits and in the description names and links to people that I talk about so that people know where they can go to get to them. Me making the Blueballs Incident videos in the first place was to make a presentation for friends and family out there about why I thought so highly of it and why I thought they should give it a look as well. So please, if there's anything out there that you like, don't be afraid to share it with other people or talk about it with other people. Maybe they'll like it, maybe they won't. Maybe they won't like it, but they'll still share it with somebody else who will take a look at it. In the end, you're spreading the word for people that deserve it. With that said, I'll bring up one last thing, and it'll be quick. At the moment, I have no real plans to look for any other Friday Night Funkin' mods or videos to cover going forward. Unless, of course, you bring something to my attention, want me to talk about something, or bring up something in the comments. More than happy to talk about what you guys want me to. However, in 3 instances, I will drop everything to give my attention and focus to them. I'm really interested to see what comes of the Memories project. And also the next full release of Trollge Files Omori. Talk about a Blueballs Incident with that cliffhanger. And, probably most obvious, the full release of a certain someone else's project. Yes, I know the team already released a demo, but I want to be able to look at the whole picture and not just a piece of it. With that, I'll leave you to the credits of the people that worked on a lot of this. And a big thank you to Mr. Kendall for allowing me to showcase more of Atychiphobia during these credits, so that you can hear more of it and maybe enjoy it a little more. Thank you so much for everybody out there for all that you've created. And thank you all for taking the time to watch through this, and please give time for the credits and tribute. Take this whole thing as an example of what can happen when things are shared with enough people. And hey, feel free to share in any of my comment sections anything you enjoy. And if Malicious Bunny's watching this, look what you did. Looks like Legion got the attention he wanted.
Three, two, one, go. She is right here.